just have to point out, your shirt's great, but I don't really know what's going on. Can you explain what's going on? That looks like me on your shirt. That's me after the mullet.
It's me when I had hair. So I was about 2.
Rob, I was going to say, did you ever have hair?
I did when I was 2.
He came out of the womb just hairless.
Well, I think everyone comes out of the womb hairless.
No,
bro.
I had
That's
hair.
not
That's actually not true.
You came out with hair?
A lot of babies have hair.
Well, some do. I didn't. Actually, I don't know. I wasn't.
You had that beard when you came out.
I did come out with a beard.
So we're going to transition because today we're going to talk about what exactly. We're going to read some Proverbs. I know that.
You know something that, like, I think is a big problem in our time right now, and it's always been a problem because
we have tons of problems. So yeah, what's the first problem that you want to talk about, Rob? Lay it on us right now. What's the first problem?
I think the first problem is how we judge circumstances, how we judge people's words, how we judge one another in a way that is not helpful. And I say this is a big problem today. I think it's been exasperated on social media by how quickly something can become an issue.
Yeah, because you don't have to go to someone's face anymore to have a conversation. Well, to have a proper conversation, you have to go to someone's face, but you can just throw a tweet out there or a post making a claim about someone, and instantly you have thousands of people seeing it without seeing the other person's view. You get one side of the story out there.
Yeah, so you're talking about one side of the story, and so when I hear someone's side of the story, am I to automatically believe them? We're told that today, which erases what?
It erases due process and getting the full, because obviously you hear one side of the story, but if another person's involved, there's always going to be a second side of the story. So you have to get that other side, and then the truth is usually somewhere in the middle of that. And so that's the issue that we're going to talk about today. Not immediately believing the first thing that you hear and trying to be objective, not gossip, and get both sides of the story before you come to a conclusion of what took place.
Yeah, today the big thing is being about justice, social justice, right? Can you have true justice and social justice if you just believe right off the bat the first story that you hear?
By definition, it's not justice.
It's not justice to the person that's accused. Now, obviously, when someone makes an accusation, you want to listen to that accusation. You want to show compassion to the person, and you want to do justice. So doing justice is actually getting to the bottom of it and getting to the truth of the matter.
And you threw the term social justice out there, and John MacArthur says, why even put social in front of it? Justice is justice. And I'm not correcting you by any means, but...
No, I'm just using that as like, that's what we call it today.
Yeah, and that is the point of justice, right? Like, you want to find out what truly happened, but that's not what you see in our culture. We don't care about the truth. It's not about justice at all. It's not about getting to what actually is going on.
And even when we do get to what's going on, how fast-paced everything is in our culture, it no longer matters at that point because we've already moved on to the next thing, and we've demonized this person that has been maybe wrongly accused. So,
but no one cares about that.
No one cares about that.
So, what's the next hot button issue? We'll just move on to that, and then people, like you said, people forget about this incident, and they're already focused on that.
So how do we as Christians correct this way of thinking? And it needs a corrective. Our society needs a corrective if we want to see true justice in our society. So what is the corrective for that? What Bible verse would you point us to?
Well, we're going to go to Proverbs 18, chapter 18, verse 13 right now. I'm going to read that aloud for the group right now. If one gives an answer before he hears, it is his folly and shame.
Yeah, it's his folly and shame. If someone hears something and answers it before he hears the totality of what it is. So when someone comes to us with something, we don't want to, and I use this in counseling, in biblical counseling. This is a key verse in biblical counseling, is as the counselor comes to, or the counselee comes to the counselor needs to hear the full story before he responds.
You need to actively listen to actually what's being said before you give a proper understanding. Don't just jump to conclusions. Don't let your human instinct come out. Actually listen to what's being said before you properly respond.
Yeah, this is so crucial too with media because we look at, most people don't read the actual articles.
People read headlines.
They read headlines.
And we see outlets, we see people forging articles and putting them online and just putting fake headlines in there, and people just, people send me headlines all the time to articles, and I read the article, and it's nothing what the headline says.
It's nothing. And so
And
what
so
they
if you
did,
don't take that time to actually read the article, it's misinformation right there from the beginning.
yeah,
You know
so
what I mean?
you cannot actually intelligently function in a society like that, because you have the headline, you have that, which is your mouse click or whatever it's called. Do people still mouse click? Clickbait. That's
Clickbait.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
but
the
they
phrase
people
I'm
have
thinking.
it's like the square like the little mat with your finger.
You have that?
Click it.
I don't have that. Oh no, I have that right. I have it right
yeah,
there.
like we don't have actually mouses anymore.
Oh,
Why
no.
is it called a mouse?
My
'Cause
daughters have mouses.
It looks
on
like a
their
mouse.
computer.
Why not a rat?
I don't like rats.
Who hate? Yeah, you know who didn't like rats?
Who didn't like rats?
Indiana Jones.
Oh yeah.
He hated rats.
Do you like
and
Indiana
snakes.
Jones?
I love Indiana Jones.
Do you remember that
dude.
time when Indiana Jones like fell in that pit of snakes? Do you remember that?
Yeah, like which time?
The time where it was in the pit of snakes?
Yeah, that was
That was so cool.
that was scary.
It was really scary.
Okay, what were we talking about?
Another issue is first that people don't listen and they just jump right to a judgment. But here's the tough one. The one who states his case first seems
Verse 17.
right.
Verse 17.
Yeah, thank you. 18:17 of the Proverbs. The one who states his case first seems right. And we know that to be true, right?
Absolutely. And then it goes on to say, until the other comes and examines him. And also, kind of what we were talking about before, whenever you are personally sharing something of something that happened to you, you're going to shape it around what you think took place.
It's going to make you look favorable.
It's going to make you look favorable, and sometimes it's going to be subjective, because you're not going to be able to look at yourself objectively and say, okay, maybe I was wrong in this. You're going to tell it the way you want it to be perceived by others, and then that person's going to hear it. They're not going to be diligent and do a full investigation and talk to the other person. So then you have misinformation, and then it just spreads, and no one knows the truth.
Can we talk about a characteristic of human nature first? And just this is a reality.
Go for it.
The reality is we see this in Proverbs 6:12. A worthless person, a wicked man, goes about with crooked speech, winks with his eyes, signals with his feet, points with his finger, with perverted heart, devises evil, continually sowing discord. That's a characteristic of a wicked person, one that is unregenerate, one without God. We see another combination or attribution of man is a lying tongue, one that devises wicked plans. So what does this say about like our speech or a tendency of human nature?
Well, we want to gossip, we want to be crooked, and we want to distort things to make ourselves feel better.
Let's bring this to home.
Okay.
Let's bring this at home and make it a difficult thing.
Okay.
Okay, so you and I are both married.
Mm-hmm.
We love our wives. We trust our wives. And I believe my wife. Let's say if our wife accuses someone of something, to actually do true justice, what do we have to do?
Well, you got to talk to the other person, but you also have to maybe point out to your wife, like, did she understand everything completely? Is there a possibility that you are perceiving something that actually didn't happen?
And by the way, our wives can do this with us too, right?
Yeah, they can. And I think spouses need to do that with each other. That's the part of a marriage, and we need to keep each other accountable. And it always comes down to like that venting thing. Sometimes we have to vent to our spouses, but there's a whole combination of like,
Well, consider Joseph, right? Joseph and Potiphar's wife. Mm-hmm. In the story, okay, so she accuses Joseph of trying to sleep with her. Well, Joseph didn't do it, and there was evidence that kind of made it seem like he did. What should the husband have done in that situation?
Gone and spoken to the other person?
He should have gone and done some due diligence, because was Joseph, who was accused of attempted rape, was he treated with justice or injustice?
Injustice.
Exactly. Because this principle right here wasn't applied. So if we're truly about justice, what we need to do is we need to be about people that are about truth.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to.
So not just believing the first thing that you hear, getting the totality of the circumstances, talking to both people, and then coming, once you have both sides of the story, coming in the middle and figuring out the truth. Because we're always going to let human emotions get involved.
Great example of this is, I'm gonna bring this close to home for us, is and close to home in terms of this is someone we admire and look up to. Months ago, there was an article that came out about John MacArthur and his lavish living and all of this stuff, and there was accusations thrown out about him by a so-called investigative journalist. And she had a bone to pick with MacArthur. And when you read the article, it seemed devastating. I had friends, good friends, that came out, oh, this very damning of MacArthur, because MacArthur's been against the prosperity message so heavily, and now look at he's a guy that's been collecting all this wealth and all of these accusations. No one sat there and listened to this, but because then when actual people that were close to MacArthur were interviewed, you go, oh, it's not anything like it was being presented.
Yeah. I think that's just what people jump towards. Like people don't want to do work, and they don't want to find out the truth. They just want to gossip.
They want to
gossip. You got to do the work, and you got to investigate both sides of the story. You got to look at someone's track record, and you got to just, like with John McAllister, there's so much material out there to look up this guy to see if these allegations are true and correct. So maybe just don't go around blabbing your mouth to everyone unless it's true and you've actually done your part to figure out what happened.
So here's the thing, and here's how we must think as Christians, is if we hear an accusation, if we ourselves are presenting a case, we need to do all we can to not be self-justifying in whatever we present. And when we do hear an accusation, we treat the person, especially if the accusations are egregious, we need to treat them with the most tender, compassionate care. But at the end of the day, because we are people of truth, because we are in Christ, who is truth, and as Christ the church,
is truth. He said that he is truth.
And because we are part of the church, which is the pillar and buttress of truth, we must always be about truth, no matter how painful the truth is.
#truth.
#truth.